A pleasure to be here with Dr. Ananda Lal. So, welcome to the Kolkata Literature Festival.
Thank you.
You were just a part of the session that got concluded, which was about the state of the arts. So, what were your major takeaways from the session? What did you enjoy the most about the conversation?
I think there was an opportunity here to have three people from different dimensions, different art forms, talk about the real problems facing the arts today. But the shortness of time didn't allow us to get into that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm very passionate about the arts and how it receives such short shrift from society. Therefore, that's what I'm talking about.
The general impression tends to be that Kolkata is still, in some ways, the hub of the arts. In some ways, it has managed to retain some of its artistic legacy and heritage. Do you agree with that? And do you think, in the context of the pandemic, the arts have gone backwards?
Well, yes and no. Kolkata always prides itself in being art friendly. It is true, but that pride also comes with it a certain superiority complex that we are so much better than the rest of India, which is not true. Things are really happening a lot in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, which unfortunately we are not that concerned about. So that doesn't reflect too highly on us. But yes, it's true. I mean, just look at the number of people at this Mala book fair. Where will you get such an turnout anywhere in India? Your second question was?
My second question was that, in the context of the pandemic, where do you see the arts?
Right. See, the arts have come back in a huge way. We were deploring what was happening during the pandemic, but that has affected all of human society. The minute everything was lifted, everybody was back in theater, for instance. So many productions, so many powerful things happening, but not just theater, music, fine arts, dance. Everyone is doing lots of work, so we're back to normal.
The impression that we have from the media is that systematically there are not enough incentives for the arts. The systems don't really incentivize the arts as much, particularly in Kolkata, particularly in Bengal, and so that some of the arts that thrive do so not because of the system but in spite of it. Would you agree with that? And if so, what are the main systemic challenges that the arts need to overcome?
Yeah, definitely I would agree with that, though I'm not so sure that what you're saying about the media reflecting that, I don't think that always happens. I wish it did happen more. Then there would be a greater consciousness of the arts, because they're so-called, quote unquote, soft subjects. They do not get coverage. I know from my experience in two newspapers and elsewhere that reviews, for instance, have been cut in many big national newspapers. That is not the way a culture accepts and encourages artists, right? The other problem is that artists generally are much more politically active. They speak up, and that is something that does not go down well with a number of governments, whether state or central.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about theatre. And in the context of the pandemic, we've also seen the rise of digital theatre. Theatre has moved online while also returning to the stage. How optimistic are you about digital theatre? And to what extent does it reflect the essence of original theatre as we know it?
There is a problem with digital theatre because it doesn't have the live presence of the human audience and the human body in terms of the performers interacting in the same space. I will never say that I'm not a purist that I will say that digital theatre does not have a right to exist. It's there. It's helped us a lot to get in touch with artists all over the world. But the theatre experience, the dance experience, and the live music experience is totally dependent on a live audience out there getting the vibes from the performers and giving the vibes back as well to the performers about how it's going. Without that, you cannot have live performance.
My final question is, as somebody who's seen theatre, been a part of it, written on it prolifically over so many years, where do you think theatre today in Kolkata stands in terms of real theatre on stage? After the pandemic, we've seen that shows are returning, but are we going through a crisis in theatre in Kolkata at the moment?
Well, again, it's a complicated answer to that. There are extremely strong, powerful productions that have always been and newly that are on now. But people don't get to know about their force, their power, simply because people don't write on these productions so much. There, as I told you, there's a dearth of reviews. There is a dearth, therefore, of theatre critics who know about theatre in order to write about them. So that gap has to be fulfilled. Of course, there is an audience out there which dedicatedly follows good theatre, but we must move away from the celebrity culture and the politically supported theatre culture, which hogs a lot of attention, because there's a lot out there that's happening that is extremely upfront, in your face, which is good. And that's where the real future of Kolkata theatre lies.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great
you.
time at KL.
Thank you.